Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified special trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you're here listening to this podcast. This episode, we have Joe Clark on and talk about business mindset adaptation. This episode is sponsored by Viper HVACR products. Did you know that Viper's NSF registered coil cleaners are a must-have for kitchen maintenance? No rinsing required. Plus, Viper's HVACR products were created by technicians for technicians, ensuring top-notch quality. Viper believes in performance without hazardous ingredients. Thanks, Viper. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, it's Rich Ortega, myself, and we have a very special guest, Joe Sharp, on. So I know I use Viper in kitchens. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure Rich does. Joe, do you use Viper?
You know about
Absolutely.
me. I put that on everything.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, dude. I love their stuff, man. It started off with Nylog, and it's kind of just like blown up from there for me. Nylog Big Blue were on my truck for years, and then I started using some of their coil cleaner stuff, and now the Venom packs. I can't get away from it.
Oh, speaking of Venom packs, it hit me the other day. I don't know if they're planning to do this or not, but if they could put their ice machine cleaner in a Venom pack, bam, that'd be great. If y'all are listening, please do that.
I don't know. I mean, they could probably do that. I mean, I don't think they want to concentrate too much because then someone wouldn't mix it right, and ice machine cleaner can be you can tear up.
Well, it could
some
be
ice.
the same concentrated as now. Just get it out of the jug and the bottles because the Venom packs are just they're pretty much I think spill proof or the way they seal at least. You don't got to worry about them spilling and they fit better in the truck too.
That's a good point. Maybe we'll bring that up to Becca and Ash to see what's going on. I'm sure they're watching me fluff dad, so I'll get it fixed. So,
and despite what one random guy on LinkedIn constantly comments, it's not gonna Nylog is not gonna trash your system if a little bit gets in there.
that's funny. That's funny. HVAC blogger wants to know where can you find it. I get mine at the local supplier, but you can get it online. I think the United Refrigeration has it. So
yeah, that's where I get mine is United, and I want to say all the suppliers will carry it. When I was in Florida, I think I used to get them at Baker and RE Michael. So yeah, most people should carry it.
yep, sweet. So we got Joe back. Joe was on last year. Has it been almost a year? I can't remember the date. I should have went and looked. I'm a bad host, man. I messed up the ad. I don't remember what you on last time. I'm a failure. So I will be honest. I had a late night job last night. Got up and worked all day today. I'm just kind of half out of it. It'll get there though.
And if not, we only got an hour, so
yeah,
suffer with us.
So welcome back, Joe. How you been, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing me back, man. It was a blast last time.
Show your hands. So make sure you don't have any bandages on.
10 fingers. I do have a bandage on. So this is the thumb. We'll talk about it. But yeah, 10 fingers, 10 toes. We're good.
So if you guys don't remember last time he was here, he had an unfortunate incident with an ice cream machine in his thumb. So I'm glad to see it's all healed up and he's back in action.
Yeah, absolutely. The miracles of modern medicine. It was degloved at the hinge. Like the bone was left and the meat and skin came off. And so there it is. It's fully functional. Can't feel it, which is real fun for what we do. But I'm blessed. The alternative was, real story. The surgeon's like, well, I mean, I'll put your toe on your thumb. Like, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, if you lose your thumb, we put your toe on your hand. And I'm like, nah, we're good. So
that's weird. Hey, whatever. I can't feel my fingertips anymore anyways, just from getting burned all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Freon burns.
Yeah, it has its perks because as long as you lead with that one, then it's good now. You got built-in resiliency.
That's great. So you've been busy, man. I've seen you've been doing a lot more stuff. I've seen you cleaning some hoods. I've seen you hanging out with learning to clean some restaurants and stuff. And I see you've been kind of branching out a little bit. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Just the real quick backstory, right? I was a facility manager who just got completely fed up with all the service options in my world. And I just kept going, man, I could do that. Man, I could do that. And so, long story short, a bunch of certifications and licensing and all the rigmarole later, it's like, well, your money's where your mouth is. Can you do that? And so, yeah, we've been our own. I worked for and still work for the man who operates 4 Dairy Queens and 4 Zaxby's down here in North Georgia. And so we just created a separate service company. So we just don't outsource anything other than what I legally can't do, which is a very small list, right? Ansel systems and grease trap pumping. Other than that, we don't really have to outsource anything. And including hood cleanings, right? So we fired hood cleaners and started doing that. And I found out the legalities of that there are none, right? If you can clean them clean, that's what's required. And ironically, most certified companies don't do that. And so we've done that for years, have a hood cleaning part of what we do. We don't really offer it outside the 4 walls very much because I don't want to be a hood cleaning company. It's a terrible job. It's overnight. It's gross. But we do it internally and for a couple owners. And then we had a fire marshal change in one of my municipalities, and he was less than pleased that we were cleaning our own hoods. So he felt like, although it was in my legal wheelhouse to be able to do it, he just, quote, didn't like it because, you should have certifications or training and do a terrible job, apparently, like people with certifications and training, which is exactly what I told him. But I'm not here to fight with the fire marshal. I was like, hey, I already knew some guys who did that. And I talked to them, and lo and behold, they have the ability to certify me and train me. So yeah, we're now a certified hood cleaning company, even though I'm not selling that service, generally speaking. But that bleeds right into, restaurant deep cleaning. The idea is to be a service company that is a one-call stop, right? Whatever you need. We do your plumbing, we do your electrical that we're legally allowed to do, what falls under what we can do electrically. Yeah, so why not the deep cleaning? Why not the pressure washing? Why not all those things? And so, yeah, I've just been using social media and the things you see, not to sell anything, but to make connections. I've always been a learn by osmosis guy who knew that I don't know a lot. And so I love, when I met you guys, I started absorbing stuff from you. I, met the guys you see me parlaying with online, and, I'm just taking it all in, and everybody has a skill somewhere. And, I have to be wise enough to stop talking and listen sometimes, and that's been a metamorphosis to go, man, I feel like I've got so much to say, but it's like, just listen to what he's got to say. Are you going to miss something? So yeah, I've been very busy and blessed. The service company, we have 2 other full-time guys who work with me, and, they're great men. They're great people. They're great character. They are junior technicians for certain, but so am I, right? So I'd rather hire a good man that I know I can trust to stand in front of a customer and go, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Let me get back with you. Than somebody who's just going to stand in front of them and do all the things that made me disdain the service company when I was the facility manager. So yeah, but yeah, definitely been busy, been blessed. My owner, if you scroll through the LinkedIn, we got an actual service van. I've been running out of a pickup truck for 6 years. And so, my boss went, thank you to him, right? He went full on high top Mercedes that
Right.
so full, I'm 6'3". So, do you want the long one? No, I don't want the 177-inch bus, but I want the tall one.
I want to be able to stand up in it.
Right.
Yeah. And then the racks in that were going to be like $5,000 from Mercedes. So I told them, just give me the allowance. And I don't know if you've seen it on LinkedIn. I know I texted Rich, but like I have 22 drawer units in that. I have 22 drawer units in that van, not because I'm a neat freak, because I'm not. It's because I'm inherently not organized. So if I don't have a sticker on every drawer, what goes in there, I'm not going to find it. And so it's forcing me to be something I'm not, which is organized, which is making me a much more efficient technician and operator, because it's like, how many times do you go, I know I've got that in the van, and you end up going to Home Depot and buying one anyway. because you're like, well, where is it? You know, and maybe that's just me, but so yeah, I've been super blessed by the people I work for and the people I work with, just top to bottom, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love seeing your stuff on LinkedIn. You're always positive, upbeat. You know, I love seeing you try new stuff, and I seen you clean the hood. I seen you hanging out, learning, you know, the deep clean the restaurant and stuff. I was like, man, this dude, he's he doesn't like free time, I guess.
Look who's talking.
Yeah,
Right.
yep.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
work 60 plus hours a week and have a podcast and all the social media that goes with it.
Yeah.
But it's a passion, man. I love what I do. Some weeks I don't like doing it because it feels like it consumes me, but I always know I need to do it. And I need to take care of, you know, my customers. I need to get the information out there about what we're doing as an industry and about the podcast and show. So I really do love what I do. I mean, sometimes I need a vacation, but I use all my vacation times for shows now. So vacations are few and far between. I try to put them around the show. So next year when I go to AHR in Florida, I'm gonna take a couple extra days and like hang out and do some touristy stuff first or afterwards, and then come home. So
Yeah, you definitely need it. I mean, I've always been just a workaholic. I mean, I put work first, right? I mean, I hate to say that, right? But that's just, you know, my family would agree, right? And that's been the pain point. And I'm blessed; my kids are grown. You know, I married my high school sweetheart, so we started early, so we're empty now. But you know, I learned too late to exactly what you're saying, to take the time you need. And fortunately, my kids are still around. You know, they're nearby. So my son does do the hood cleaning with me, and so that's a nice endeavor. But that's been a big part of the metamorphosis. When I reached out to you a while ago saying, hey, you know, no rush, but you know, last time we were here, we talked about some stuff that we thought, you know, wouldn't work with the company. And I just had to go through a lot of changes as an operator and as a person inside the operation as to how I was going to try and drive the company, you know, and that's why I really was like, hey, can we talk about this? Because I put a post on, man, it was probably a few months ago when the existential moment hit for me, right? Like, you know, my thumb was ripped off and put back on, which was a blessing, but, you know, not the same. You know, you're just not quite the same. I had you know how the really nice pump sprayers, the barrel, the tube connects at the bottom of it, right? So your cheap Home Depot sprayers, it goes in the top, but the nice ones we get at the part houses, those go in from the bottom. Well, I was cleaning hoods and we had our chemical in that, and that hose had backed out. And standing there, the chemical had just filled my boot. And so, you know, liquefies organic material can confirm. And so then hard-headed Joe, who has, you know, my son with me, and we're like, we're on the final rinse, man. Let's just get it done. And we spent about 15 more minutes with that in my boot. And none of this hit social media. I didn't mess with any of it. But I mean, I ripped all the skin off of my foot and was, you know, once again down from my own stupidity. And so it was like, all right, fought through that, really, you know, didn't miss much work, just kept going, and like, all right, whatever. Finally caught my groove. And, you know, I'm an accomplishment junkie. You know, I can go and run 10 calls, but if one of them doesn't go, that's a failed day. That's just how my mind works, you know, and I'm constantly putting the pressure on my performance, but it's coming from internal, right? It's not coming from outside. It's coming from inside. And, you know, I hit the ground running after that, and I had all these things I had to get done. And it just started out with a walk-in installation that was a disaster. Nothing worked. And I hit the moment where I was just audibly going, I can't do this. Like, I just can't, right? I failed enough to know I'm done. And I had to take a step back and be like, okay, like what's really going on? Talk to some wise people in my world and really just put it out there to be like, you know, and that was what my post was. If you scroll through it, like, we have to remember the 95% that was a victory. you know,
Mhm.
and not let that 5% become the demon that just stays with us, because that's how I live. It just stays with me. And then I'll go for weeks without a real problem, like without real drama, and you're like, hey, everything's cool, everything's great. And then, my old tired eyes from doing hoods overnight and working both days before and after mistake a brown and a black wire this way, boy, and they looked the same, and poof, smoked a computer board. And it was like, oh, great. So, and in that moment, all of that 5% of the past comes back. And it was like, you remember, yeah, this is the reminder that you can't do this. What are you doing? And so I just wanted, I was able to take a breath, hear some of the positive voices in my life, and and just acknowledge that, like, I'm going to live on the 95%. I'm going to live on the positive side of it. And I smoked that board, and I went right to Partstown, and I overnighted it so I'd have it tomorrow. And I called the owner, and I was like, look, this is what happened. My bad. I'm going to handle it. And is that a win? I mean, I didn't lose any points with the owner, I'll tell you that, right? Because how easy would it be to just say, hey, yeah, I had a bad board too. Yeah. Oh, look, I changed the motor, and sure enough, your board couldn't handle it. Let's get you a new board. But it's like,
Mhm.
no, live, walk the walk. If you're gonna do it right, do it right. And when you screw up, screw up. And owning that has made it a lot easier to go, okay, it's not a failure. It's an opportunity to, to learn something, like wear a headlamp when you're wiring in quasi dark areas so that you don't black and brown wire the problem. And but just to be a voice of encouragement, right? And I didn't post it to, I didn't need any more encouragement myself. I didn't need a cheerleader. I didn't need somebody to go, Joe, it's okay. Like, I was past that. But man, when I was down, it was hard. And so I wonder, of the 100 guys I talk to on YouTube every day, how many of them feel like that? How many of them go, man, are you kidding me? And maybe it's not many, but I don't think it matters, right? I don't think it's zero. So that's why I just wanted to get out in front and be like, hey, we're all out here, bumps and bruises. And, when I could not, I think it was day one of my foot, when I'm like, I can't stand, I can't walk. What can I do? And I learned becoming unavailable is the best marketing strategy ever, because your phone will blow up. And in 5 minutes, I had 3 owners, and none of them were incidental. It was like, my hoods are down, my walk-in's down, I don't have kitchen AC, and I'm like, I just can't, right? So now what? But everyone that I would then text a picture to the owner, because I'm very relational with my owners, right? They're not calling an office, they're calling me. And I would just send them a picture. I was like, you ready for this? And I'd text them a picture of my foot and be like, I can't, and everybody would be like, whoa, it's okay, right? Take your time. And that was a really turning moment for me, where I was able to go, this stress that I live under, where I'm like, I have to go help Rich, and then I have to get to Pat's, and then I have to go here, and I have to go there. That's great that, we have that drive, but not when it becomes an unhealthy push. And it was just stressing me out, and it was my fault, right? My owners weren't doing that to me. I was like, I had to be the hero.
Yeah. That's me to a T, dude. Everyone's like, Pat, you work all the time. Pat, you're stressed all the time. You're worried about this. I'm like, but it's all self-inflicted. It's nobody else. I do this to myself. I'm like, my work doesn't demand I work the hours I work. They don't demand I do what I do. They don't demand that I feel bad, take care of my customers. I'm sure they appreciate it, but they don't demand it. I put that on myself. And a lot of times people think that because I do that, that's how my work is or this industry is. And I don't do a good enough job explaining, no, that's not how this industry is. It's if you do that to yourself, this industry can be that way, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, 100%. We put anybody who cares puts a lot of unneeded and unnecessary stress on themselves, and that's really what it boils down to. We care too much sometimes, and we realize how critical a lot of stuff can be for the customer. And when you think like us, it's like, okay, this call on me today, I can push it to tomorrow, but I don't know what's coming tomorrow, so I might as well get it done today. I mean, at least that's usually been my line of thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And what you said about, the bad days, the internet does a really good job of people just showing their highlight reel.
Hmm.
And if you ever suffer or you have any, I mean, I don't think I have depression, but I have my days where I don't want to do things, and I see, everyone, these people, so many people, all they post their wins, wins, wins. And I'm like, when am I gonna have wins every day? But you gotta realize that they're not showing their struggles of how they got there. I mean,
Dude, first time I posted a video that was, not a win. I mean, I remember it. I was going into day 3 or day 4 of what should have been a 4-hour job on a walk-in freezer. You know what I mean? And like I was done, and I'm like, yo, like, and I just started recording. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, this is like the end of day 3, and I have to come back tomorrow. And I was like, just but hey, we all do this because I was like, I don't want to just show the good that I do, and I don't want to just sit there and complain about crappy work other people do and not put, my crap out there. The amount of messages that I got from people, DMing me, thank you so much for sharing that. Like people that, because this goes back to what you said, Joe, how many people are dealing with that same issue. There were a lot of people messaging me like, dude, we wish more people would make posts like that because I'm sitting here beating myself up that I messed up on this job, that job, and the other job. I'm like, I've been doing this 20 years. You know what? I probably knock at least 95, 97% of what I do out of the park. I mean, it's just at the point I'm at right now. But, that 3% that I don't knock out of the park, I mean, it beats me to hell and back. And, I want to sit there and I want to show it so people, especially newer people or
Mhm.
people that are in that intermediate, stage, know that no matter how good you get, how long you've been doing this, we're going to get the crap beat out of us.
yep, yep. Um, this industry will humble you pretty fast, man. You can be on top of the world, and the simplest thing can smack you in the face and ruin an
Mhm.
entire day. Like Joe said, he smoked that board, but he had the integrity to own up to it and fess up to it, man. I'll
Yeah.
I'll, I'll own up to anything. If I break something or something happens, I let the customer know it's my fault. I let the office know it's my fault, and we're going to take care of it. Um,
Mhm.
it's just the way it is. I mean, one of our core values is integrity, and I'm not gonna expect a customer to pay for something that I messed up. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I mean, and I'm gonna take care of my customers. It may suck in the long run, especially some of these things can be pretty expensive some days, and it just is part of doing business. So
Yep.
Right. If you're in it for the long haul, right? And that's the easy conversation, right? I'm not here to maximize this year's revenue from that owner. I'm here for the next decade, to be the person he calls for everything. And he knows, based on the only history we have, that he can trust, what we say. That's a slow thing to build and grow, but I'm blessed to have that with most of my operators, and they can tell, you know. Uh, Operators have been around long enough also to tell when the guy in front of them is full of crap, and when he knows what he's doing or he's genuine. I say as an example, like I'm a mediocre tech who just cares off the charts,
mhm.
right? So I'm a mediocre tech who knows a lot of things about a lot of things, but what I care about is being able to fix this problem. And so the amount of time I spend just processing service manuals, parts down, troubleshooting diagrams, all the things. It's like YouTube. Uh, I'm I'm not classically trained in this. I jumped through the hoops to have the stickers and have the patches on my jacket, but I didn't go through trade school. I was a facility manager for a small operation who had to get up there and fix it. Hey, you're EPA certified, go fix it. Like,
Mhm.
well, okay, and so YouTube and common sense, right? Death of the tradesman. It's not a critical mass because the common sense part is mostly missing from the public. So that's why the tradesmen are still okay, right? We haven't been pushed out because people don't have the common sense. But I I knew what I couldn't find when I was looking for it, and fortunately I had a fantastic mentor we talked about last time who, his rule was like, hey, call me anytime for anything unless you've asked me that question before. So don't ever ask me something I've taught you, and we can do this forever. And I think that was 8 years ago. And he's one of my absolute best friends. And I talk to him every single day. And we just share, horror stories and war stories of what's going on. And having that mentor let me get into things that I couldn't. Currently, that's been really side by side now with, the YouTube community or whatever community you're a part of, whether it's the LinkedIn community. I know there's whole like Reddit threads just for, Manitowoc ice machines and whatever. You can jump on and be like, hey, I'm fighting with this. And the community's there for you.
Mhm.
The technician camaraderie, even across platforms, is unmatched.
Mhm.
It deteriorates as you go up the pyramid, right? So us technicians are all like, yeah, man, let me help you with that, right? Oh, let me try this, try that. And the owners of the service companies are like, do not tell the other guy how to do that. And you're like, well, why? And it's like, that's just what I've seen is the higher you go up the ladder, the less interested they are in being helpful to anyone else.
Dude, I've had owners of service company mad that we're doing this because we're talking about the industry, trying to get it out there. Do you think we're just trying to steal guys? I'm like, dude, I don't need your guys. I
For real.
I
Be
want
honest with you, I don't want half of them anyway.
to.
You want to be real.
Yeah, that's true. I'm at the point now where everyone's like, "Oh, you get skilled guys." I'm like, man, trying to get a skilled technician is next to impossible because the good ones are getting taken care of so well they don't want to leave or they're going to do their own thing. And you guys bring guys in that have bad habits they don't want to change. I was like, let's do away with trying to focus on getting skilled guys that have years and years experience. So let's build an apprenticeship program. Let's get these kids in high school. Let's get these kids in trade school. Let's get in there and show what we have as an industry and bring them in that way. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode, man.
Yeah, it's a good one
Yeah,
though,
it
and
is.
it's right on.
Yeah.
It's right on.
So how did you get your guys? I mean, you said you got a couple of junior techs, or were they trades guys, or did you just find them? You know them?
So one of them, we homeschooled our kids,
Mhm.
and I was part of a large homeschool, community in my area. And it's really a funny story because he had no interest in having a job or definitely doing this. But my wife just threw it out there like, hey, this restaurant needs, at that point, it was really just a handyman, right? We just need pressure washing and windows and just low rent stuff. And this kid was like, those kid's mom sent me an email. I was like, well, he that would be good for him. And I think he's been with me for 5 years now. He's EPA certified. He knows his stuff. He's good with the fryers. He's good with the AC units. And so that was just a blessing of, I have a playground, right? I'm blessed to have 8 restaurants as a playground that I can tinker with and not risk my service company, right? So my other young man, recent addition, he was in semester 1 of HVAC school, and friend of a friend was like, hey, my friend's son is just starting trade school, and maybe you should talk to him. And I was real big on him, like, you need to finish trade school. I know you're just starting, right? But you need to finish what you started. Do not use me as an excuse to, well, I've got a trades job. I don't need this. No, you're going to finish it. But also, I have the playground, right? So everything you have to simulate in trade school, we can do on site, and so I met with him a few times, but young man who just he needed hope, right? He was working at Walmart and just went one day, what am I doing? Right? Like I'm growing up. I need to have a direction. What am I doing? And that day he looked up trade schools, he enrolled, and boom, he was on the books to start. That's a good dude, right? And so just in talking to him and explaining to him my vision for the company, and I don't want, I consider these guys partners. I don't want people to work for me. I need them to work with me, and as this company grows and there's the opportunity for, advancement and more sharing and more benefits to them, right? I want them tied into it because it's all built off of that. So I've just been fortunate that, the right circumstances, divine intervention, have brought me the right people at the right time. And having some kind words, having to teach everything right? You know it. I mean, and he's handy for sure. He's a handy guy. He's he's good with his tools, but he didn't understand circuitry, right? He doesn't understand the refrigeration system. He is on semester 1.
Yeah.
So they're teaching him how to set up a ladder and how to wear his safety glasses, and nothing useful from his perspective. And I thought, oh, this will be great, man. 6 months, we're going to be rolling. Newsflash to Joe, that's not how that works. And so we had to really just set little waypoints. I do a lot of Dairy Queens. We are one of 2 certified manufacturer ASPs in the area, and so it's a starving market. And so I just focused on ice cream machines with him. Yeah, can you go and fix a walk-in? Nope. Can you go and fix an ice cream machine? Yes. So that when my ice cream machine problems kick up, it's like, hey, I've got you. You're the guy. It's like when a fryer kicks up, he's the guy. We're gonna send. I've tried to just specialize in that way, so that I can peel off my high volume calls. That in an intelligent way, because it was not fair to him. He wasn't getting the education hands-on with me, right? I mean, you can tag along with me every day, but what we see is varied every day, and taking the time to really teach someone as opposed to getting out of the way. Like, I just can't do it. I've got to be like, and I'm in there. And so it wasn't fair to him. He wasn't getting the growth he needed the way I was trying to do it. So we stepped back and had that conversation, both of us, right? He wants targets to hit. I want him to grow. How do we do that? And so we just set baby steps, and that's how we're trying to do it. It's not perfect for sure, but best we figured.
Yeah, that's a great
As long
point.
as y'all are both growing, that's what matters. Y'all both got targets, and you're willing to adjust as you go along, and so is he. Finding a technician, especially brand new one that actually wants to hit targets and wants to go somewhere, you've won, like, I would say, at least 60% of the battle with getting technicians right now.
But it's great that you've identified, hey, he can't grasp everything at once. So let's focus one thing, and let's he's gonna be the ice cream machine guy. But eventually, hey, let's branch out. We're gonna start working into walk-ins, reach-ins, walk-ins, ice machines, and build him out. Like, I know a lot of companies, they just like, oh, let's throw them every single training out there, and then the guys are so overwhelmed, and they freak out because they've been trained on this, this, and this, but guess what? They haven't worked on none of it. They send
That was one of the things I tried to get implemented was when I was training, I used to tell my dispatcher, like, dude, you see the calls coming in for the next several days. For a month, give me nothing but refrigeration. The guy that's riding with me, let's do refrigeration every day for a month. I guarantee you at the end of the month, he'll at least be able to be sent out to a basic, small refrigeration call. And if he can't figure it out on his own, he'll know the fundamentals, and then he can be walked through it. Then I'm like, once he gets that down, send me to, nothing but, ice makers that are coming in. Just give me something for, 30 days at a shot to be able to get that consistency. So, I mean, I love the fact that you're doing that because, right, if you're on a fryer today and a combi tomorrow and 2 ice cream machines the next day and then a walk-in and then a hood, you're not going to learn crap.
I learned this from Dan Reese at Safessa. He's like, Pat, he said, you may be really good at teaching people, but he said, you're not the technician to do it. He said, you're too valuable. You're all over the place. You're not consistently working on the same thing over and over and over like these guys need to see. He said, one day you're putting out a fire on a combi oven. The next day you're installing a walk-in box. The next day, you're doing this, this, and this. He said, but guess what? This guy isn't learning the basics he needs to learn first before he gets to go do the combi calls and everything else. So I think, if you're going to be the guy training people, you got to have control over what calls they see and you see. And I think in your situation, Joe, that's perfect because you can control what the guy sees.
Yeah, I mean, you got the potential to put out some really good techs over time with the setup that you have. So I'm definitely interested to see how that plays out over the next, 5 years or so.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I learned, these aren't the first 2 people I've ever had. The young homeschooled boy is the first young man now, right? I mean, he was a boy when I hired him, but he was my first. But I've gone through several employees from here to there, and what I learned here in the last revision was to give if you give someone the keys to their own fortune fiscally, they're only going to do one of two things. They're going to hit the mark and make their money, right? Or they're going to have every excuse why it's not their fault they can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Those are the only two choices. And you can weed it out pretty quick. And so, instead of bringing someone in at X dollars an hour, I bring them in at X minus $2 an hour. And I say, so here's the deal. In 30 days, when you have this skill, we're going to teach you this for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to test you on this, boom, raise. Next task, this, boom, raise. And most people are willing. And I've had issues where, incidents where I say, and, if in 30 days you hit that mark, I'm going to go ahead and retro you all your hours. So you're not risking anything, right? It's as if I'm paying it to you, but sealing the deal's up to you. I'm willing to invest in you and hire you and do the training and equip you. But as far as stepping up and learning the skills, can you do it? And then when you give him the keys to his own future, which is what this young man really wanted, right? He just, he's 19 years old and, he talks to me like he's going to be here forever. Now I'm wise enough to know he may intend that now. And I hope he does, right? I hope it does work out and this is his career. And, he can be all he wants to be with Meadowbrook and myself. But if not, that's okay too. He's driven to grow, and we're a part of that. I'm glad to be a part of that. And, hopefully it sticks. But I think the reality is statistically, we all know it doesn't, right? The odds of anyone we have hanging around until they're done is single digits, right? So, but don't treat him that way. Treat him like he's a lifer. He's acting like he is when I have an emergency on Sunday morning, and I don't want to cancel going to church to go deal with a blizzard machine, right? And I text him and he's like, I got it. No problem, right? Like, is a blizzard machine important enough to like spin your life upside down over? It's like, no. But he's willing to go, hey, whatever the company needs, right? When Joe calls and needs, I'll do it. Like I said, I've just tried to find the good guy, and he's living up to potential. I don't want to make any of my previous comments sound like I'm picking on him, right? He started from zero. He started from absolute zero when I met him. And so I thought from 0 to 3 would be automatic and quick. That's where I was wrong. That's a journey.
I can relate, man. I always talk about my son. This is my best example, and he's been here a year and a half. And when he started here, I think he'd only held a wrench one time his entire life. And I was like, man, this isn't the job for you, dude. This isn't for you. And he's proved me wrong. I mean, he's doing good. I mean, but he wants to learn though. Anything he can do to learn, he's doing it. And if a guy has that kind of drive, they're gonna go places. So
Yeah.
So what else is new? Anything else new over there?
Anything else new? Well, I mean, again, it's just growth, right? So that was what we knew would be the challenge, being essentially a one-man show outside, because I wasn't bringing my other guys outside. I don't knock on doors to grow. I need organic growth. Otherwise, I'm going to be all the things that I didn't want to be. The big challenge that you guys pointed out that would be last time was trying to be the chimera that I wanted to be, to go, man, I hate a service company that treated me like X. And now I'm the service company. And I have to remember that and then go, I'm not going to do that, right? We're not going to be our parents. We're not going to act like our parents did. Or I'm not going to be the service company that, dink and dunks on everything. And, and then the fiscal paper is what it is. And you go, okay, I carry a junk ton of inventory in my van, obviously, because ice cream machines, chain broilers, that stuff is the lifeblood of the Dairy Queens I serve. And there is nowhere to get those parts locally. So either you've ordered them and you've got them, or you're sunk. And so I've got them. But, what would be best for me as a service company is to not have $10,000 of inventory in my van, just stale dollars. Come to your restaurant and go, we need this. See you next time. And hit them with another trip charge, and hit them with more hours, and hit them with, boy, fiscally, I could be making twice what I would be making currently if I would just do what everyone else does. I mean, and I wouldn't be worse than anyone else, because it's what everyone does. but I just keep going back to the original position, going, there's got to be a better way. How do we do it? And so I've continued to struggle, but we were bleeding out for a little while, and we made adaptations, and that scabbed over, and we're not bleeding out, and so the wounds are healing, and there's growth, and it's positive, but it took a lot of analyzing. It's easy as I'm going to say, a list of service guys over here in the chats, right? You understand when you went to fix an ice machine and tech support told you it was these two things, and you ordered them, and then you came back and you put them in, and then it still didn't fix it, and then tech support's like, oh, maybe it was the third thing, and then you order it, and then you come back and you put that in, and you're like, I think that did it. So as the facility guy, I used to go, so you're charging me, right, 4 trip charges, you're charging me all the labor hours for all that time your guy was here, 5 or 6 total hours before we fixed the problem, not fixing the problem. I'm not okay with that, right? As the Bulldog facility guy, I'm not okay with it. As the service guy, I'm like, I got 6 hours of labor tied up in that building. I've got 4 round trips tied up to that building. What do we do? Right? How do we manage this? And I think the solution presents itself in bringing that honest query to the owners and the operators and going, here's the position we're all in, right? Do you think what I'm offering is better than X? Because that's what X is going to charge you. Mm-hmm. So even if I charge you exactly what they would charge you and you were treated better, it's a win, right? Now, I'll find somewhere to shave some of the fat as a gesture and be like, look, I get it, especially if I misdiagnosed it. Granted, I had help misdiagnosing it from tech support, but, you don't know what you don't know. And that's been a real challenge. And I have a layer of administration in the company who I've been married to for 25 years, who handles my invoicing and my billing and all that. And she's a rock for me, but she always has those questions like, well, and they're great questions. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean you're not going to charge him 4 trip charges? You went 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but you just can't. And then she goes, well, what would X do? Right? How is this any different? If you're gonna, I thought I had to be the cheapest game in town. And I learned if I show up when I say I'm going to show up, and then I do what I say I'm going to do, and I treat them better than everyone else, mm-hmm. I can be the most expensive guy in town at that point, right? And if you don't see the value in that, that's okay. Stick with the people you've got. I had an operator who wanted me to install a whole residential unit. I don't do that. I can do that. It's just stay in your lane, right? But I love the guy, and he's like, listen, I need you to. I'm like, why do you need me to? And he said, because I don't have to. It was a rental house, right? I don't have to be at the house to babysit you. I know it's going to be done properly. I know you're going to give me a fair price. It is what it is. And so I said, okay, then here's the deal. You go get 2 quotes from other companies, and I'll do it for $1,000 more than the highest quote. And he's like, more? I'm like, you just said I was better than them, not me. Right? So you want and then look, that's not me saying I'm better than them, right? It's this owner is, and the trust relationship that he believes that I can just walk on water for him. Right. I mean, and so I did put the unit in, and I did it at a better price than he would have gotten, but he understood the concept. It's like, what's the give and take? A guy called me on Saturday at 4:00, an hour and a half away, a guy I've never even been to his store. Hey, I got your number. My walk-in cooler's down. Okay, I'm on hour like 60 this week already. I'm already running calls. So, well, I need you. Well, listen, let me walk you through this. Maybe we can get you through till tomorrow. And he's like, no, I need you. Just let me ask you a question. What if it costs you $400 an hour? Still want me to come? And he's like, well, you're going to have to do me a favor. I'm like, I did you a favor when I answered the phone on Saturday at 4:00, and I'm giving you options, right? I'm giving you options. But, you can't expect any technician to start carving time out of his personal or whatever it is, right? Unplanned, unscheduled time can be filled absolutely with work stuff. We do it all the time. But he was like, well, you're going to have to, can't you work with me on this? I'm not going to do you a favor at a discount. I'm just not like, and I used to, I used to be torn with that, be like, oh, I just want to help him, right? I love operators. I remember being that guy going, oh, I'm screwed. I've got a food truck coming tomorrow. I need this. And so it's like, I want to help, but also the reality is what it is. If you call someone else, what are they going to tell you? So.
Yeah. I mean, your time and services are for sale, but not on sale.
And
Right.
I love that because that's a complete 180 from the last time we had you on the podcast and we were talking about overtime rates and all this other stuff. It's complete 180. But I like the fact too that you didn't just say, oh, well, screw it. Everybody else is charging more. I'm going to charge more. You came to that realization of, wait, I'm offering a lot more than what these other companies are. And you were essentially, if you're trying to be the cheapest, you're basically screwing yourself is what you were doing until you came to that realization. So that's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you talk about the truck park thing, and that's a wild topic. I mean, it can go a million different directions. I can speak on what I do. If I have certain customers that I do certain things for them, I make sure I have parts for that equipment. And I've had to fight for it because my company's owned by one of the biggest conglomerates there is out there, and everything's numbers. Everything's numbers. Well, you haven't sold this many in the last year, so we can't do that. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm seeing an uptick on it. We need to carry it. And then, I fight and fight and fight, and I get it. And guess what? It's proven, they want to judge the first time fix thing, and it's proven to improve my first time fix for this product line because I had them. It's like, look, see, there's a payback for it. It's going to be a little upfront. It's going to be a challenge because it may not work and it may work. But I mean, the good thing about us is the part doesn't sell, we can sell it back to our parent company. You don't have those options. It doesn't work for you. It's sitting on your truck until you get sick of it sitting on the truck, and then you put it in your warehouse or shop one day, and hopefully, for the next couple of years it goes somewhere. But
It goes somewhere. Yeah.
So
That's
but,
cool.
that is a complete 180 outlook from last time he was here. That's
well,
Yeah, because
it's only been
no
but I will.
disrespect, but I thought after we talked the last time, I was like, he's tripping on some of this stuff. Like I admired your passion and I admired your heart behind what you wanted to do, but just because of my industry experience, which is obviously a lot more than yours, I was like, no, a lot of that stuff ain't gonna work. But again, I mean, I like the fact that you're open to realizing that what, I've got this mindset now doesn't mean I'm right, and then as you grow and you learn, you're like, oh, this is why this is done, or I know I still don't understand why it's done this way. Yeah, we need to change it. So I mean, that's cool, dude. I like it. Not enough people are willing to grow.
Yeah. Well, you grow or you wither, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's all there is to it. So, I mean, I will. I don't want to sound like I'm in defense of the previous Joe position, but I can tell you, realize what I said. What I said was I offered him higher rates. I actually have never billed someone an overtime hour, right? I still run calls on Saturday with someone who's on regular time on Saturday, right? He's on regular time. And so if there's a problem, it's not a problem. But when those situations, does that mean I am personally, because I'm also an hourly employee, right? So the reality is once I'm in overtime, this may be, I call it my company. It's not. I operate a company on behalf of my owner, right? So I get the best of both worlds. He gives me the complete freedom to run the company with his money and his tax headache and his insurance headache. And, you give up a lot of the perks of being a business owner, but I'll take it for the not headache. But, so when I'm in overtime, you're just cutting into profits if you're not raising your rates. So it is still about managing that on my end better. But yeah, a lot of growth. I mean, if it's a real emergency, right? If it's a real emergency, I just still remember those days, right? And I'm in to help however I can. And again, I'll shave where I can to be just, but I used to think that was necessary. I used to think, I have to do this or they're going to call me. Like, it's okay. And in the growth aspect, right? I have operators I don't work for anymore. Not because they fired me, right? But because it was like the operators who want to, I don't want to say complain, right? But the operators that make the biggest deal over everything and don't want to pay the rates and don't like the system that you offer, those are going to be your problems forever, right? And the people who are never problems are people who would pay anything I said it was, right? They're just like, okay, not because they're just loaded and it doesn't matter, but it depends on the spirit of the person, right? It's equally as hard for a service company to find a great operator to work for as it is for that operator to find a great technician. And I have been so blessed to find operators who are just super unicorns, who are like, I've got money and I'm willing to invest it in non-downtime. How can you help?
Yeah.
Let me change all your contactors and capacitors, right? And then we can get rid of all those this summer, right? No, none of those breakdowns, and I've got a ton who will let me do that. And the YouTube thing helps because then they see it on one store and go, man, there's 15 contactors and capacitors that are just burnt up. And it 2-3 hours, right? It's like, wow, okay, well, that's money well spent. Let's do that. So,
I mean, that's an easy one. Change your contactors, capacitors, check your amp draw. If your amp draw is high, hey, I got another problem. We may need to take to hear this now. It goes
Exactly.
along. I love that fact. Of changing the contactors, capacitors. We discussed your PMs and stuff like that last time you were here, and I love that point. I mean, those are high wear items. I mean, they're always a common point. They're always a common failure there. And just to get ahead of it for a minimal cost, I mean, in my world, we charge overtime, and to go out on overtime to change a contactor, to change a belt, to change a capacitor, absolutely floors me. Call me out in the middle of the night, out there and change a contactor. I'm like, if you guys would have had a PM, it's been done during regular time. You would have got a different rate on the labor, different rate on the part. I'm like, just have a PM and do it right.
Yeah, there's a whole nother aspect again when once the trust layer has started to where you're right. I mean, your fan capacitor's dead on your walk-in cooler and you got one fan. So now what's happening? Well, yeah, you're gonna have an emergency service call for your cooler, but for the 6 hours it took you to realize that your unit was short cycling on the roof, you are tearing up your compressor, right? And now here comes a $4,000 compressor change because you didn't want to spend $500 on one summer day to change all your capacitors. Like, come on, man. And most of the operators in my life hear that and they're like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It gets hot in Georgia. You let that compressor bang on and off on high pressure all day. That thing's toast, man. That thing's smutty.
Yeah, it is.
You get there, it's just hot. I mean, you see it. You get up there on the roof and the compressor, there's no paint on it. It's rusted. You're like, oh, this like, how is this thing still running, man?
Yeah. You can just feel 8 feet away from the unit. You can just feel the heat just pumping off of it. Oh man. Yeah.
And the thing about a freezer, they don't call you when it's 12 degrees. They call you when it's 40 degrees and their ice cream is liquid. I'm like, dude, you've been
it just started right when we called you.
Right. You get to a walk-in cooler and it's front to back frozen solid and it's been that way for weeks and you know it. And it's like, oh, it finally got above 42. So we called you. Like,
yeah.
That's great. Well, we're coming up on an hour. I like to keep it under an hour. So we'll have to have you back again, man. I guess 6 months from now, we'll bring you back in it was September last year. So we'll bring you back in September again this year. We can talk about how busy your summer was and maybe you'll have another tech or two underneath you by then. So
gotcha.
That'd be awesome.
Dude, your outlook's changed. You seem happier. You seem more involved.
Yeah, that for sure.
You seem more involved, but you got a more clear picture of what you want to do and what you're trying to do as Middlebrook Facilities. And I like it, man.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
So let's go ahead and plug your YouTube and your LinkedIn and let everybody know where they can find you. So
sure. Well, on LinkedIn, I'm Joseph Sharp, as my parents aptly named me. And so I'm only on LinkedIn and YouTube. And on YouTube, I run restaurant repairs. So you can find me there. And I'm pretty active. I'm a very not serious YouTube poster. I don't edit anything out. It's part of why it does well. I said last time, it's because I'm a train wreck, right? You never know what you're going to get with me. But, also it'll help you. Look back, man. I looked back at 3 years ago when I started and all of the terrible things I was doing. And you're like, wow, so why did anybody let me do this? But it's great to look back and reflect and see, and then to have it now. And a huge help that it offers me is all of you guys' comments. I work for an owner, and all my owners watch their videos, and then they watch it and they see these technicians go, man, you just really, I did a rooftop or whatever, and it's like, man, you really just saved that guy's day. So that's nice. But yeah, restaurant repairs on YouTube, LinkedIn, and I just appreciate it. I appreciate the community and you guys giving me a forum to come and share a little bit.
For sure. I will put
cool.
your LinkedIn and to your YouTube and the podcast descriptions. And also, I'll link back on this and everything. We'll get you shared out there and get you the word spread about what you do, man. Because I really appreciate what you do. Like you said, you're completely honest. You're not hiding anything. You're not, you're putting it out there and just showing people. Like you said, you just record it with your phone and just load it right out there. You don't care and just let it be. That's cool.
That's the way to do it.
And I put the link in the comments right now. If you can click, I don't know if you can click on StreamYard. I don't know. I just put it out there, but you can copy and paste it and go find him on YouTube Restaurant Repairs and then Joseph Sharp on LinkedIn. So thanks again for coming on, buddy, and I'll see you in 6 months. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have you back.
Thank you, guys. See you guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Man.
If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.